people who aspire to be artists in general, they stray away from what that essential element was. You know what I'm saying? Like, they start off with hip hop. Their whole thing is, I'm gonna start off, make a song, and then see if I can get it into mainstream without knowing what mainstream entails. You know what I'm saying? Like, they stray away from everything, and it's almost like all the music, Nicki Minaj, Trey songs, like, it's dumbed down to where what we listen to is affecting the kids.
Yeah,
not only in the music taste, but at the educational level. Now you got 5-year-olds trying to be drug dealers, like, not knowing how unreal that really is for them. You know what I'm saying?
Or you
like,
see little kids on social media, little girls throwing the badonk and doing what they call that shit, that shit up, twerking and all this type of shit, and they 5, and the parents are all proud of them in the videos and shit, like, oh, look at my baby, oh. Like, I want to slap both of you. Real shit. Yeah, I think, you know, that goes back to the whole, people love not being policed, you know what I mean? Especially on social media, you have no police control there, you know. There is no governor of information or material. I mean, they're trying to implement some things right now that you can't say or post up and do all this stuff, but realistically there's nobody policing the internet, and anything goes, you know.
Yeah, unless somebody reports it.
Right.
That's the only time something ever gets taken down.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's free world. They can post up anything, put anything up. They say, like, no nudity, you know, on Instagram. I see stuff that's nude all the time. Like, I thought this wasn't allowed here.
Right.
You know, like, okay. So
Yeah.
I'm an adult. You look like an adult. Like.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how you get this picture up there?
Word. I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and it really does stem back to music. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people have strayed away from TV. You know, like, it's funny I read some statistics on it. It's not that much. They're trying to cater to the young people with, like, fucking 16 and pregnant or whatever the fuck. But it really goes back to the music. And, you know, having both generations present, you went from having substance in your lyrics to just maybe having the instrumentals. You know what I'm saying? With no real substance behind it. Or let's fuck this, let's do this and this and that. You know what I'm saying? Like, the transition was huge.
Well, I mean, he could say a lot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, I see it all the time where the lack of just knowing the history of this music is really, like, fucking obvious. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd hate to be that, you know, bleak and blunt with it, but it's like, it is, dude. Like, fortunately for me, I had a father who played me brand new being a gangster, and I didn't miss that. And the way I feel is like, you gotta understand what it is you do if you expect to be any sort of good at it. You know what I mean? And that's why you hear a lot of this shit today that's, quite frankly, not dope. You know, and I feel like because of the internet and the way the industry changed in the 90s and 20s, circa Biggie and Pac's death specifically, it showed executives that they could tailor what the youth do through the music. So then you have the selection of artists who aren't really saying shit on records, because that creates a desired effect in the people, like you say, you know. And when that happened, you know, the music video thing really kind of was huge in that, because the videos were no longer about the music itself, but rather what you had in the video. So if you had the Maybach and the yacht in the video, you were the man's, even if your lyrics was the shittiest. And so, like, I feel like the whole music video thing too, like the whole blatant, like, I mean, you could search this up on the internet, like, BET outlawed Tribe Called Quest. They banned it.
Blacklisted it.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's obvious that there was an agenda to dumb down the people directly through the music. And as a young cat, I see it all the time, because you have all these young artists now that don't know anything past Jay-Z. And not even like 90s Jay-Z, like Blueprint Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's interesting, like, because you can tell who really does their homework on music. It's usually pretty obvious, you know. And there are cats like I feel like Joey Badass is a good example of, like, knowing, you know, the history of hip hop music. And I think it's essential if you want to be any good at it. That's why you hear a lot of shit, and the music today that comes out is super transparent, seeing the influence it has on the youth, because you have, you know, the bloggers, which I feel so much, or too much power has been given to the blogger, because the blogger simply posts music, you know what I'm saying? And the blogs now, they're not exactly like how the magazines used to be in the 90s, where you had to actually be dope. They just kind of just take what's coming out, put it up, and that constant stream is allowing people to create that hype, you know what I mean? Like, there's no real delegation on who's saying what's dope and what isn't, you know? And I mean, that is subjective, but it's like, is it really? You know what I mean? Like, is it really? Like, that's my stance on that. Like,
well, adding on to that, there's two things. I remember growing up, my parents would play the right music in the house. You know, a lot of us, especially in Latin black households, our parents played the right music. And they taught us the Shy Lights, and they taught us, you know, the Jackson 5s and the Barry Whites and the Marvin Gaye records, and, you know, whatever it was, we were learning, and Tina Marie and Rick James and all this other stuff, right? Some stuff we discovered along the way, you know. And that stopped. I feel people wanted to, at some point, started to just shut the fuck up, Junior. Here, what do you want to hear? Oh, I want to hear Destiny's Child or some bullshit, or you know, Justin Bieber in the back of the car on the way to grandma's house. Now, if you're a hip hop dude like myself, and my kid tells me I want to hear Justin Bieber on the way to grandma's house, I'm gonna turn around and either slap the shit out of him, or put in a CD of Gangstar and go, shut the fuck up. That's just how I parent. A lot of times our parents got either too lazy, too wrapped up in their own parenting, and you know, the wife is cheating and the man is not home and all this other stuff, and let the kids raise them fucking selves, you know? And the second part of that is, we can't forget that since companies like General Electric invested in private prisons, they also own Universal Music. So their thought process is that if we give them shitty music, we control the mentality of the youth, causing them to commit crimes, then we can house them in our private prisons. So once you combine those two, you'll see what a real dilemma is going on out here. And people say, oh, Mellow, you're a conspiracy theorist and you don't know what you're talking about. You know, the facts are the facts. You can do this knowledge and search it up yourself on the internet, which is another problem. We have ultimate infinite information a click away, and we're too lazy to do the knowledge on it and check up on it to see if Mellow Man's telling the truth or if he's bullshitting about what the fuck he's saying. You know what I mean? You gotta check it out, man, because we're sitting here trying to, and society is out here to engañarnos as to what's supposed to be the shit. That's why I love fan bases in the UK and shit like that, because those white people in the UK stick more to true hip hop than even some Mexicans and blacks and Cubanos over here, you know? And it's real, so that's why artists want to always go to Europe, because that's where the real passion for the breakdancing, the DJing, the MCing, the graffiti's really at. Over here, we allowed Hollywood to dictate to us when graffiti's no longer cool. Well, guess what? I still live my life by the motherfucking code. See what I'm saying? I live this lifestyle. I don't let no white media or mainstream media, whatever, Jewish media, dictate to me whether your shit is dope or whether your show or your magazine is cool enough for me to be out. You see, I'ma do what I'ma do, you know, because I am hip hop. A lot of people forgot that. You turn 45 years old, you got 4 kids and a chick, right? All of a sudden you start thinking, or your wife sneaks your old Adidas away and throws them in the fucking garbage or hides them in the garage, and now you think you can't hip hop no more. You can't multitask because you let your wife hold your balls, and now you don't even come out to the jams anymore. You know what I'm saying? When you should always maintain your level of dignity as a man, as a female, and know that even though what you're going through, there's still a life to live. You know what I mean? And don't soccer mom your hip hop so much. You know what I mean? That shit is real.
That's one thing too that I want to mention is, like, I see right now, for the past couple of years really, like, the blending of mainstream and underground. So you see like underground artists love the shittiest music and they'll promote that, and vice versa. Like, that's where I kind of blame a lot of the OGs for stamping a lot of problematic music at the turn of the century. You see like Slick Rick taking pictures with Rick Ross, and when I see shit like that, it's like, you know, you ain't. That's not true.
And I was around
You know
I was around for, let's say, for instance, the younger years of that guy's career. So I know he would have never stamped that back then. In fact, he would have addressed it, probably battled that person, you know what I mean, and told him his shit was whack. You know? That's a great point.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of the OGs have allowed a lot of shit to happen. And I mean, I don't want to blame the OGs per se, because it's the young cats that make the music, but it's like there has to be some sort of authority. Like in my father's day, there was like the Zulu Nation, and they would check you at jams, and you didn't even have to be Zulu Nation, but there was a time in music where you would go to a show, and if you was whack, cats would unplug your shit, like, and you had to work on your music. Like, there's no need to work on your music anymore. Because now you can just get a laptop and some SoundCloud, and all of a sudden you're an artist too. And so whatever you make goes directly up, and you know.
But in my house, I still live by those principles.
Yeah.
You know, in my house, you know, he got to be down with Zulu Nation. He got to be down with 5% Nation as much as anything else. You know, because we live by a code of hip hop. And so if you're not gonna know the knowledge, like. And the verbiage, I think the verbiage is so important. Like words like fresh and dope and stuff like that, and deaf, funky, fresh, still need to be applied in today's stuff. And calling somebody whack on their stuff is so vital.
I think that needs to happen too. Like in my generation specifically, I feel like we need to use the word whack a lot more. Like when some shit is not dope, it's pretty obvious. But I also feel like too, like hip hop music specifically has been turned into such a joke. Like that's why a lot of people just allowed this music to be like digressed over time. Like there's certain artists that I won't make mention of, but I feel like a lot of like the jerk era really was a defining moment of where hip hop was going, because it was like, now you have people that look like they at raves doing it. You know what I'm saying? And